Hi, I'm Hazel, and this is a guide to the Sire Denathrius fight in Castle Nathria on normal and heroic difficulty. This is a 3-phase fight where you duel with not only Denathrius, but also his sword Ramornia. In phase 1, we all start with 5 stacks of Burden of Sin. That'll do damage over time, and we all need to cleanse that during this phase. You can remove stacks by standing in Cleansing Pain, which is a frontal cone aimed at the tank. When it hits someone with Burden of Sin, it removes the stack of Sin and summons an Echo of Sin ad. Those ads are immune to CC, they'll channel raid damage, and they need to die quickly. It is not advisable to take a stack of Sin off the entire raid at once for 2 reasons. A, that many Echo ads would be gnarly, and B, blood price. He's going to yoink the raid up into the air and then everyone explodes for damage. You will take more damage depending on how many players have the same number of Sin stacks as you. So if everyone has a matching stack number, everyone's gonna die. To survive blood price, you need to stagger out the Sin cleansing. Splitting the raid into 2 and cleansing in halves should be fine. At 100 energy, he's going to give the command for Ravage, which will AoE a solid third of the floor. It's time for everybody to move. If and when you get Denathrius to 70% health, it's time for an intermission. Everyone's going to get flung to the edges of the room, and you must walk back to the center to cleanse your remaining stacks of Sin. Having high stacks makes you slower, and if you don't make it in time, you die. While you've got Sin, you cannot use abilities, so you can't just shadow step your way out of this one. After 15 seconds, we're moving on, with or without you. For phase 2, we're getting plonked into a brand new room. We fight both Denathrius and Ramornia, and you'll have 1 tank on each. We'll get Crimson Cabalist ads in this phase. They'll cast light raid damage and you do need to kill them. A few will spawn on platforms that you can't walk to, range should start on those. Denathrius will aim the Racking Pain cone attack at his tank. If you hit the ads with that, they'll take extra damage. Only his tank and maybe some ads should be in this, and you can tank swap after each one. The Hand of Destruction will grip the raid to Denathrius. After 6 seconds, he will do a blast of damage on his location with a distance drop-off. You need to get as far away from him as you can to reduce that. To help, there are mirrors on either end of the room. Entering one spits you out the other, so if you tank him by 1 mirror, you can have everybody poof through it so they're far away from the Hand of Destruction explosion. Meanwhile, the other tanks got Ramornia. Damage taken by the sword is copied to Denathrius, so hit both. Anyone hit by Ramornia or her abilities will take a stacking bleed. You're already tank swapping, so that sorts out that. Impale will target 3 random players and then do damage in a path between them. The targets should gather and then move out of the raid kinda together, so that's not happening on top of everyone else. At 100 energy, Denathrius will use the command for Massacre. There will be lots and lots of line attacks kinda crisscrossing the room for you to dodge. At 40% health, we move into phase 3. Denathrius will actually swing Ramornia himself, which I'm sure is a big ego hit to the sword. Indignation will disable the mirrors and block off the edges of the room with a swirling vortex. Get and stay in the middle. The boss's attacks will leave the stacking scorn dot on the tank, and you'll need to swap for that. I'm guessing swap on like 6 stacks, but you'll have to feel that one out. Hand of Destruction is back, and there's no more mirrors, so just run away the old-fashioned way. For Shattering Pain, he is going to absolutely rock his tank with 3 slams and then do a raid damage with a knockback. Watch your back and make sure that you don't get kicked into oblivion. Fatal Finesse will target random players for AoEs, they need to get out with that, and at 100 energy, you'll have to dodge both the Massacre lines and the massive Ravage cone attack. Good luck with that. On normal, that's the fight. On heroic, we get a pretty substantial mechanic upgrade for each phase. In Heroic Phase 1, you'll deal with Night Hunter. Images of Denathrius will mark random players and then charge to them. After the charge, Insatiable Hunger will do a 4-yard AoE on the target that heals Denathrius, and that attack is reduced for each player that was in the path of the Night Hunter. You'll need people to help with this by standing in the path, but staying away from the target themselves. Helping Soak will give you a debuff, and you should not help Soak again until that's gone. In phase 2 on Heroic, the Cabalist ads will get crescendo. When they die, they send a volley of anima at everybody. If you get hit, you take damage and get knocked back. That should just be a swirl that you can step out of. In Heroic phases 2 and 3, Ramornia's Impale and Massacre attacks will drop pools under players hit by them, which will start to eat up your encounter space. And in Heroic phase 3, Fatal Finesse gets Smoldering Ire. After the Finesse targets have gotten out with their AoE, they'll spawn a sphere of anima that explodes for raid damage after 10 seconds. You can reduce that explosion by standing in the orb while it's up, so a few people should help soak up each one. And that is Sire Denathrius in Castle Nathria. Come visit me on Twitch sometime, take a look at the raid figure merch if you're interested. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful, wonderful day.